Alright, man, peace. You know, brother, sometimes in life we fantasize too much. We start thinking about jobs or women or other situations that we think in the back of our minds could have been perfect for us. But in all reality, they never materialized because it never would have worked out. Now, LeBron James is back up to his old tricks on social media, being Mr. Passive Aggressive. And he decided that he was going to put forth a hypothetical scenario in which, what if he got to play alongside of Kobe Bryant? Do I think that they would have worked well together? Not particularly, no. Because LeBron James is very good at tricking the media and getting them to trick you into believing that he is a pass-first player, and he is not. He is not a pass-first player. Because if he was, Dwayne Wade would have been allowed to remain the best player on the Miami Heat, and they would have won championships with Dwayne Wade being the number one scoring option. LeBron James had to make himself the number one scoring option. So that's how you know that he's being very disingenuous and trying to postulate this notion of him playing alongside of LeBron James. But I know why he's doing it. He's doing it because he's trying to appease the Kobe Bryant fanboys that are on his ass like a bad rash. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
So just picture this. Kobe Bryant and King James together on the Lakers in their prime. Better than Kobe and Shaq, perhaps? Well, LeBron was fantasizing on the gram about what it would have been like to be a Laker when the Mamba was still in his prime.
I can tell you what it would have been like if you were on the Lakers with Kobe still in his prime. Kobe would have eaten your ass up. Kobe would not have been able to play with another great wing player. He only could play with a great big man because he wanted to dominate the entire floor. So he needed his wingman to work out of the post, preferably the low post. That's what made Pau Gasol, a prime Pau Gasol, such a perfect working partner for Kobe. Because not only could Pau work in the low post, but if he needed to, he could stretch out to 17 feet and make that jump shot for the Lakers as well. But Kobe wanted the entire perimeter. And his offensive repertoire was so vast, and he knew how to score from any point on the basketball floor, that he wanted every option that he could have. He gave Pau Gasol the low post. So no way in the world would he have fit in well with the LeBron James, who needed to dominate the basketball and still needs to a degree.
Posting this. Imagine if we had, it wouldn't even be, never mind, 23, 24, living legend, sheesh, happy Halloween.
As usual, LeBron James has to act like he's complimenting somebody else when he's actually just complimenting himself. Who does that? Who the hell calls himself a living legend? I mean, other than Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali oftentimes would do it in jest. And he participated in a single person sport. So you can understand hyping yourself up, especially in a combat sport. But this guy, LeBron James, he talks about himself so much. He really is the living embodiment of Narcissus.
Stephen A., who would have benefited the most if Kobe and LeBron played together?
LeBron James. He'd have benefited the most. I don't think there's any question about that.
To be quite frank with you, I'm not quite sure if either one of them would have benefited, because I'm not quite sure how well they would have fit together. Please keep in mind, once again, when LeBron James went to play with Dwayne Wade in Miami, who's kind of I won't call him a lowercase Kobe Bryant, because once again, in my view, in Dwayne Wade's prime, he was just as good as Kobe around 04, 05, 06, that area. In my view, he was just as good as Kobe in his prime. It's just that he was not as explosive a scorer as Kobe, and he was not given the green light that Kobe was given. And plus, Kobe was able to sustain his high-level scoring over a longer period of time. But just to get back to the point, we got to see LeBron James with another great two-guard in Dwayne Wade, and we saw what happened. LeBron had a tough time fitting in his first season, and then after that, Dwayne Wade, because he was such a good friend to LeBron, decided to divest control of the team over to LeBron James. Kobe Bryant would never, ever do that. So they would have not played well together. They would have not fit in well together.
When you look at LeBron James and his greatness as a player, think about the adversity that he went through to get here. But also think about the fact that for years, he didn't really have anybody staring him in the face that was the living embodiment of accountability. Somebody that would...
Right, but that's where the issue would come in, Stephen A. Smith. Because LeBron James would only allow himself to be held accountable to someone who he thought was better than him. LeBron James does not feel that Kobe Bryant is better than him. He's never felt that way. In the same way, Kobe Bryant has never felt, nor will he ever feel, that LeBron James is better than him. That's why, once again, they would have never worked. Dwayne Wade had to acknowledge to LeBron James, even if he did not feel this way inside, but I believe that he did. Dwayne Wade had to acknowledge to LeBron James, you're a better player than me, so I'm going to give you the keys to the team. That would never have happened with Kobe. So there's not much that they would have been able to learn from one another. Now, the real key is whether or not Phil Jackson could have gotten them to play together. That's the real key. And how well each one of their games would have fit into the triangle.
Would be in his face, challenging him to do what the hell he was supposed to do. Max Kellerman, and if y'all could get that footage for me that I asked for from y'all this morning. Max, I want you to look at this. This is I think it's a 2012 All-Star game.
I'll never forget this.
LeBron has the ball, all right? He has the ball. Kobe is D'ing him up, face to face, right there. It's him and Kobe. And he tries to throw a court pass, and Melo, D-Wade, and Kobe are all getting on LeBron. Why? And even Darren Williams, of all people.
It's the All-Star game, brother. People want to see this.
It's the All-Star game, and what they were doing is, you remember, LeBron James had yet to capture a championship. And what was the knock against him?
Look at Kobe Bryant. Kobe's like, LeBron, what are you doing, man? I want you to make this jump shot in my face. I don't give a shit if you make the shot or not. I could care less. I want you to take this jump shot and make it in my face. And LeBron James is thinking, well, I have to make the right basketball play because 85% of the time when a team's down by 1 with 5.6 seconds left, you have to pass the ball to the baseline shooter. And look at Carmelo. Carmelo's like, see, that's why I didn't come to play with your ass in Miami. Remember, this is before LeBron James was able to win the championship in Miami. He actually won it that year. But I'll never forget, in 2012, right before this, Michael Jordan has stated that when LeBron James drives to the basket going left, he very rarely can finish with his left hand when he drives to the basket going left. That's what Michael Jordan stated. And when LeBron tried to drive on Kobe in this game, Kobe was able to block his shot multiple times, just going off of the defensive strategy that Michael Jordan had brought forth pertaining to LeBron James. Now, in the aftermath of this, to LeBron James's credit, he has greatly improved his finishing skills going left. So obviously he listened and hearkened unto what Jordan said. But in this game, Kobe Bryant was able to dominate LeBron James defensively multiple times. And of course, at the very end here, they punking LeBron.
What are you doing? Take it. It's yours. This is your time.
Kobe's like, you bitch ass nigga.
What the hell are you doing? I picked that moment and asked them to show that video because it crystallizes my point for this particular argument. Those years.
And by the way, moments like that are why LeBron James is not and will never be the greatest player in NBA history. Never in life. I don't give a damn how many of his fans don't like that. I don't care how many points he scores. He can pass Kareem in points. He can pass Kareem or Bill Russell in rebounds. I don't give a shit what he does. He could pass Magic Johnson in assists. He will never, ever be the greatest NBA player ever.
Where LeBron James was maturing, but couldn't get himself over the hump, was devoid of the killer mentality, was susceptible to what people said and what they felt, how he has openly acknowledged how it inhibited him for years. That's why he calls losing in the finals to the Dallas Mavericks his greatest achievement, because with his show The Shot, which I said was a very good show, he's doing a good job with it. The point is, he was saying it was his greatest achievement. Why? Because when he lost, that's when his whole mentality changed. He hunkered down. Pat Riley, D-Wade, everybody, they got on him. He had to ultimately embrace who he is, but also embrace the fact that you got to step up and embrace the challenge and take what is rightfully yours. If he were playing alongside Kobe Bryant, he'd have never had to go through that for that long period of time, because Kobe would have been in his behind from day one.
Well, Kobe would have been in his behind, and then LeBron James would have tried to get back in Kobe's behind, and LeBron James would try to go to the coach and to the owner to complain about Kobe. And that's where their relationship would have disintegrated. Once again, brothers, that's why I led this video with sometimes we fantasize about things that are not meant for us. LeBron James knows damn well that he could never play with Kobe Bryant.
Demanding that greatness shined, it would have shined considerably earlier, and we might be
actually having valid comparisons to MJ?
No, sir. Because if Kobe Bryant would have played with LeBron James, we would be comparing LeBron to Scottie Pippen right now, not Michael Jordan. Because in Kobe's mind, he's the Michael Jordan of that team, or would be, hypothetically speaking.
Well argued, but you're wrong.
I agree.
I'm not.
You are. Now, for the sake of argument here, what does LeBron really mean when he tweets that out? Well, Kobe and LeBron were both in some area that you can still call their primes. You could say,
I agree. They were in their primes. I would say they're mutual primes. Kobe was at the end of his prime when LeBron James was entering into his prime, around that 07, 08 area. That's when Kobe was starting to enter the end of his prime, and LeBron was starting to enter the beginning of his prime. And they never would have worked out trying to play together in either one of their primes.
you could say it was a little post-Kobe's prime and a little pre-LeBron prime when they were both two of the best players in the game. Let's say LeBron had been on the Lakers then. Phil Jackson is still a coach in the league. Whether or not in that year he's coaching the Lakers, let's say Phil Jackson's their coach. That's a realistic scenario where they could have played together and under those circumstances. That was also a league before the three-point revolution, really. Before D'Antoni's system kind of seeped into all coaching systems.
That's a valid point.
And totally changed the game, the Warriors dynasty, etc. Now, you mean to tell me LeBron benefits more from that pairing than Kobe? Think about this for a second. Phil Jackson coaching Kobe and LeBron. You know what he has there? He has a slightly toned down Michael Jordan and a super duper Scottie Pippen.
I agree with that assessment, sir. I will state that LeBron James, circa 2007, around that area, he'd be Scottie Pippen, except maybe about 35% better than Scottie was at any point in his career. When I look at it, Kobe Bryant around 2007, I'd say that he'd probably be considered maybe about 20 to 25% less than a Michael Jordan. So they would balance out to that Jordan-Pippen pairing, except I think that the LeBron James-Kobe pairing will be a tad bit more effective in a perfect world, in a perfect situation where they could play together, which I think they could not. Because once again, Scottie Pippen was a beta struggling with the fact that he wanted to be an alpha. And when he had that year and a half of having the Bulls all to himself, he realized that there's a lot more to leadership than just getting the glory. There's the responsibility, there's the media. There are things that he just was not built for. He did not want to have to answer to why he was arguing with Phil Jackson, or why he did not want to come into the game when he was not given the opportunity for a last-second shot. He didn't want to have to answer to why certain teammates were leaving the team. These are all things that leaders have to do. Now, when you're talking about a LeBron James and a Kobe Bryant, now you have two alphas. And LeBron James is a basketball alpha. There's no doubt about that. People can try to dispute it if they want to. As a matter of fact, he's almost too much of an alpha. And we know that Kobe Bryant is a super alpha. It's very difficult for two alphas to fit together. Jordan and Pippen could fit together because Jordan was a super alpha. Scottie Pippen was a beta, struggling with the fact that he wasn't an alpha until he got the team all to himself. That's why that second Bulls team, that second Bulls 3P team, was so successful in the regular season. They had 72 wins, 69 wins, and 62 wins. And the 62-win team, that third team in 98, they missed Pippen for about 45 games. Had he played the whole season, that team might have won 70 games. Because they fit in so well together, because everybody on the team was content with their role. And that's the point that I'm getting at with LeBron and Kobe Bryant. They would not have been content playing with one another when they were both still trying to be the alpha. Kobe Bryant wanted to lead his team to championships so that he could cement the fact that he was not just a sidekick for Shaquille O'Neal. LeBron James was trying to lead a team to a championship so that he could show that he deserved to be called the chosen one. So with those type of things going around in their head, they could not have played together.
Would have never lost. They would have won all the time. And the reason is Kobe finally, when he played with Shaq, he played with a physical force of nature.
Hold on, you do understand that Kobe Bryant never played defense like Scottie Pippen, right?
I'm talking about LeBron James as the super duper Scottie Pippen.
Stephen A. Smith, I'm happy that you stated that Kobe Bryant never played defense like Scottie Pippen. I'm happy that you said that. Because when I say that Kobe Bryant was overrated defensively, his fanboys get upset. Don't get it twisted. There were some spots here and there over the course of his career where he played elite level defense, particularly in the championship years. But for the most part, throughout his career, he was an overrated defender. I'm going to say it again. He was an overrated defender. But he did have 3 or 4 years where he was an elite level defender. In regards to LeBron James, he was elite up until about 2013. Then he just fell off the map.
Kobe Bryant is a slightly toned down Michael Jordan. Okay. Kobe in his prime played with a physical force of nature in Shaquille O'Neal. An unstoppable force. And they won, they three-peated. They won 3 consecutive championships, something the previous incarnation of Laker greats with Magic Johnson, where Pat Riley coined three-peat, never did.
Well, let's not compare the Kobe Shaq Lakers to the Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy Lakers, or the Lakers of the early 80s with Norm Nixon and Jamal Wilkes and those guys. Because when you compare the competition that the Lakers face in the finals with Dr. J and the Sixers and later on Moses Malone, Maurice Cheeks, Bobby Jones, and then, of course, the Celtics with the great Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and then the great bad boy Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, etc. You can't even compare the teams that Kobe and Shaq played against in the finals to those teams. One can certainly make the case that the Kobe Shaq Lakers played the weakest competition in the finals of any team, of any quote-unquote great team in NBA history, and it's not even close. For them to go to the finals and the best team that they played was the Indiana Pacers with a 36, 37-year-old Reggie Miller. Maybe he was 35. I'll say he was probably 35 when they played the Lakers, Reggie Miller was. A 37-year-old Chris Mullin. A 30-plus-year-old Rick Smits. I think that even Jalen Rose, if he wasn't 30, he was nearing 30 by that time period. And for that series to go 6 games. And then the next year they faced an Allen Iverson Philadelphia 76er team that to me was not even the best team in the Eastern Conference. And then in 2002 they faced the New Jersey Nets with Jason Kidd. I mean, it's a joke, their competition in the finals. That is why, once again, Kobe Bryant will tell you himself the biggest moment of his career was winning that 7-game series against the Boston Celtics in 2010. Because had he lost that series, people would be looking at his career completely different. They say, well, you won 3 as a sidekick with Shaq. In 2004, you were horrific against that great 04 Pistons team, arguably the greatest defensive team of the modern era. And you did not show up. Supposedly, you're the new Michael Jordan, and you were terrible in that series. And then in 2008, you get blitzkrieg by Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and those guys in the finals. And then you finally win a championship against Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic. So what really was your career about, Kobe being Bryant? But because he won that 7-game series against the Boston Celtics in 2010, his career is looked at completely different.
But there was friction, and it didn't last as long as it should. And even, except for that 1 year where they, went through the playoffs with only 1 loss to Iverson Sixers, they were never quite as great as maybe they should have been in those other, a little more vulnerable than they should have been. And the reason was Kobe was playing with a guy who demanded the ball. In LeBron James, he's playing with an unstoppable force of nature, a physical freak, in a way like Shaq in that way. But
once again, the media is finally starting to understand that LeBron James is this era's Shaquille O'Neal / Wilt Chamberlain. Good for them.
But who is a pass-first guy?
These guys love spewing this fake narrative that LeBron James is a pass-first guy. LeBron James is a pass-first player as long as the offense is running through him. That's when he's a pass-first player. Don't get it twisted. LeBron is a great passer. He's not as great a passer as they make him out to be. Is he the passer that Larry Bird was? No. Is he the passer that Magic Johnson was? Hell no. But he's a very good passer. But you don't average 27, 28 points a game because you're a pass-first guy. It just doesn't work like that.
Who's saying, yeah, take the ball.
I'll put it like this. Russell Westbrook averages more assists than LeBron James. And nobody will call him a pass-first guy. Why is that? Because Russell Westbrook shoots about 42% from the field. So because LeBron is so proficient, they try to put this pass-first aspect on him. But once again, if he was a pass-first guy, Dwayne Wade would not have had to divest control of the Miami Heat over to him.
Kobe would be able to shine unlike he did in his actual career, which is just about as brightly as anyone who ever lived. Not only would they win all the time, Kobe would finally be set up in a situation where he could be shown at his very best, a long-term situation where he'd win more championships than anyone else and get the ball when he wanted it. Kobe would have benefited more.
How many more rings would Kobe have had?
Several.
You sure about that?
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. How many more would LeBron have had?
Several.
Far more than Kobe. Kobe already got 2 more than him. The fact of the matter is, let's be very, very clear. Again, I talked about what served as an impediment to LeBron James' success for the first 8 years of his career.
Well, Stephen A. Smith, let's put things in their proper perspective when we're comparing LeBron James and Kobe, because what Stephen A. Smith now is doing is he's starting to turn this into a who's a better player, LeBron James or Kobe Bryant debate. And if we're going to go there, then we have to start to assess the coaches that each player had, the systems that they ran, and the conferences that they played in. And of course, we know that many Laker fans and Kobe Bryant super fanboys, they love to talk about how Kobe had to go through the Spurs and this, and that. Well, LeBron James, when he was in the East in the mid-2000s, you had the Detroit Pistons in the East, you had the Miami Heat in the East, and you had the Boston Celtics in the East. All 3 of those teams won world championships. It wasn't like they were just a stumbling block like the Indiana Pacers or Chicago Bulls would be for LeBron James and the Heat in the early 2010s. Those were actually great teams. And as we know, LeBron James never has played under a great coach, or at least he didn't until he got to Miami, because I believe that Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. He'll just never get the credit because he cannot get a superstar who will stay there for a sustained period of time that will allow him to get some of the credit that he deserves. But the fact of the matter is that LeBron James had his most success under Eric Spoelstra. That's a fact. But just to get back to the point, if we're going to compare those 2 players, we have to add into the fact that Kobe Bryant played with a player in Shaquille O'Neal who was more dominant than Kobe's ever been in his career. One can make the case that in the history of the NBA, there's never been a player more dominant than Shaq was from about 1999 to about 2002. I can't think of any player that was more dominant. I can think of players that were greater, but not more dominant than Shaq was in that time period. LeBron has never had that. But LeBron's impediment is what? He's never had a coach who actually was able to put a system that he was forced to adhere to make him a better player. The closest that he had to that was in Miami with Eric Spoelstra. So when we start to compare those 2 players and talk about who would have benefited more, that's why I come to the analysis, or I come to the conclusion that neither one of those guys would have benefited from playing with one another, because they just would not have been compatible. Kobe Bryant's not going to divest control of the team, and LeBron James is nowhere near as unselfish as the media narrative would make him out to be.
Well, you're saying they're playing together their whole careers?
No. What I'm saying to you is that I'm looking at it from the perspective that LeBron being with Kobe would have never went through what he went through for as long as he did. Kobe Bryant had gone to 7 NBA Finals. Kobe Bryant had capped.
Well, Stephen A. Smith, if we're going to come up with a hypothetical scenario where Kobe Bryant is playing with LeBron James, you cannot give me his career achievements, and you're not going to give me LeBron James's career achievements. When you're assessing LeBron, you're going back to the mid-2000s, but when you're assessing Kobe, you're looking at his entire career. Kobe Bryant in the mid-2000s, let's say if Kobe and LeBron came together in 07, yes, Kobe had won 3 titles, but he was viewed as being the sidekick to Shaq by 2006, 2007, and a guy who was just going to jack up a bunch of shots. He was a great gate attraction, but he was not viewed as the best player in the NBA. No, he was not. So we have to assess the comparison from that angle. And once again, what they would have needed a very, very strong-minded coach. I'm not even sure if Phil Jackson could have handled that, because for all intents and purposes, just to be real, Kobe Bryant ran Phil Jackson out of coaching 2 separate times. In 2004 and 2011, he literally ran Phil Jackson out of coaching.
captured 5 NBA championships. So you can modify it to some degree and throw an additional 1 or 2 in there, whatever the case. But I'm not even going by the numbers per se in regards to Kobe. I am saying that the number that I'm paying attention to is not championships. It's years of unnecessary adversity that LeBron James went through because he didn't have a teammate like Kobe.
I got you.
Right, but how many years of adversity did Kobe Bryant go through in the mid-2000s because he didn't have a teammate? That's why they had to get Pau Gasol. So you're acting like LeBron James would be the only one to benefit by playing with more talent. Kobe Bryant also had to play with real talent. Because no matter how people try to reverse engineer history, when the Lakers were able to pull off that trade for Pau Gasol, that was viewed as a proverbial coup.
Got you. Here's the difference. Who would have led the team in scoring and the league in scoring all those years? I'm asking you a question. Who would have led the league in scoring?
Probably Kobe.
Kobe. Who would have been the alpha?
We don't know that. This guy acts like LeBron James is John Stockton or something. Like LeBron would have been on the team averaging 14 points and 15 assists a game. We don't know that. LeBron James likes to shoot the ball. He likes to score. It's an assumption on Max Kellerman's part that LeBron would have just been feeding Kobe and just standing there watching.
On the team.
Kobe.
If Kobe gets
LeBron James wants to be the alpha. That's why they would have clashed.
7 championships with the numbers he would have had playing next to LeBron James, people would today be saying Kobe Bryant's the greatest player of all time, and people like me who would say, and maybe you who would say, time out, MJ was better. We'd have to point out the reason Kobe looked as good as he did is because he was playing with LeBron James, this unselfish superstar who was passed first. But the general consensus by now would be Kobe's the greatest player of all time. That means he's benefiting more than LeBron.
I don't know if it would have been a general consensus, number one, because the biggest thing about Michael Jordan isn't the 6 rings, it's the fact that he was undefeated in the 6 appearances.
And beyond that, Michael Jordan was unbelievably proficient. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, especially people who did not watch him play. I think that when people think about Michael Jordan, especially people who did not watch him play, they think of Russell Westbrook or they think of Kobe Bryant, guys who shot 43, 44% year after year. Kobe Bryant's best season in regards to shooting percentage was about 46.5% from the field, which is equivalent to what Jordan shot from the field in his last season with the Chicago Bulls. Look up Michael Jordan's 1997-98 season, his last year with Chicago, and compare that to Kobe Bryant's season, saying like 09 or 08, somewhere around there in his prime. It's basically the same season. Now, certain Laker fans will say, no, Kobe had his best season in 06 and 07 when he averaged 35, because all they do is look at points per game. You have to look at proficiency. Jordan was unbelievably proficient. When you look at Jordan's shooting percentages from the 87-88 season all the way to the 91-92 season, he was shooting well over 50% from the field. And this was a player who was getting double teamed basically in every game. And he was not just somebody driving to the basket, dunking the basketball like Shaq. He was shooting mid-range shots, long-range shots, fadeaways, shooting 53%, 54%, 52% from the field.
And he retired from baseball, so not only did he have 6, there are people that believe he could have had 8 straight because he would have beaten Houston.
How many times did Kobe have lost to LeBron?
I'm just saying that when we can speculate,
they would have lost together against that Detroit team. Let's say, for example, if the Lakers had Kobe and LeBron in 04, since we're reverse engineering history, even with both those players, say, in 07 mode, they would have lost to that 04 Pistons team because they would have both gotten locked down.
Speculate about that, but I'm saying when you look at Michael Jordan, he won 6 straight. I'm sorry, he won 3, he three-peated twice. And the 2 years that he didn't win was because he really wasn't playing, and those were the years Houston won it, and a lot of people believe Chicago would have.
How do you say these pairings? How do you say these pairings?
All I'm saying is this. Again, when you look at LeBron James, did you and do we not pay attention to what those first 8 years cost him?
I'm not.
Once again, Stephen A. Smith, your best argument, in my view, is what I brought up pertaining to Dwayne Wade. Max Kellerman is trying to act as if LeBron James pairing with Kobe Bryant would have been this unstoppable force, this juggernaut. I think that when we see how LeBron performed with Dwayne Wade, that's a microcosm of how things would have went with Kobe, except the main difference is that because of the personal relationship that LeBron had with Dwayne Wade, it made it much easier for them to play together because Dwayne Wade wanted to see LeBron James do well. There is no scenario where Kobe Bryant wants to win with LeBron James and allow LeBron James to be the alpha. And that's how it would have had to be. LeBron James has to be the alpha on the team. If not, you have to go, i.e. Kyrie Irving.
I'm arguing that LeBron wouldn't also benefit. They would
No.
really both benefit
No,
from playing
what I'm
together.
saying to you is that the exponential benefits comes from LeBron because of how he suffered
If
the
you
first 8
are
years
not,
of his
Kobe
career.
Bryant is not considered the greatest player of all time, except for some.
In my view, he's not even considered top 10. But go ahead.
For some Laker Kobe fans, he's generally not even in the conversation. Some people who say, what about Kobe, are putting him below Jordan still. Most basketball people. If he played with LeBron, he'd be considered the greatest ever, in my opinion. Not.
Well, as usual, that's hyperbolic from you, Max Kellerman. And you're only saying that to get attention. I don't think that you could quantify or qualify how Kobe Bryant will be considered the greatest player ever just because he played with LeBron James. I just don't see it. Because the point that you would have to make is that Kobe would be more proficient, he would score more, and I just don't see that. When you look at LeBron James' career, what his career shows you is that when he comes and plays with you, your scoring actually goes down. It doesn't go up. Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, their scoring all went down. Now people will say, well, what about Kyrie Irving? Kyrie Irving was trending upwards. And Kyrie was so aggressive that he was going to get his regardless. That's why the Cleveland Cavaliers oftentimes were so unsuccessful during the regular season. Because Kyrie was in the midst of finding himself. And he was not in awe of LeBron James. Kyrie was in less awe of LeBron than D. Wade was. That's why Kyrie said, I got to get the hell up out of here. Because at the very least, if I'm not going to be the alpha, I'm not going to be here with this guy and all his bitch energy and have to deal with his nonsense.
Not that you or I would agree, but the consensus would be that means he benefits more. Say these pairings, Shaq and Kobe, right? Shaq's name comes first. MJ and Pippen. MJ's name comes first. Kobe and who do you want to say? Wade, Kyrie, whoever you want to say. LeBron and those guys. LeBron's name comes first. Kobe and LeBron, Kobe's name would have come first. However much credit LeBron would have deserved, even if LeBron would have been the better overall player.
That's why they would not have played well together, Max Kellerman. I have no idea why you guys are not getting this. You think that LeBron James is this submissive beta. And really what you're saying is that you should not have LeBron James as the second best player in the history of the NBA. Max Kellerman has LeBron James right after Jordan. But supposedly, in his view, LeBron James is just going to put himself in a subservient position underneath Kobe Bryant. That's not making sense. The only conclusion that's realistic that you can come to is that their pairing would never have worked out.
It would have been Kobe the alpha, Kobe's team, Kobe getting the credit.
But what you're missing is this. Kobe Bryant isn't considered the best in the best ever because obviously MJ and him played the same position, and we're going to think MJ first, and I get that. But it's not like you look at LeBron James because LeBron James is playing the same position and has the same responsibilities as Kobe. We look at LeBron James as the greatest small forward who ever lived.
No, you do. I look at Larry Bird as being the greatest small forward who ever lived, and I don't give a damn who don't like that. Larry Bird from 1983 to 1988. That 5-year stretch was as good as any 5-year stretch that LeBron James has ever put together in his career. The difference is that Bird played in a much more physical era. The understanding on physical and body conditioning was not to the degree that it is today. And you also did not have the performance-enhancing drugs back then that you have today. That's the difference. But when you look at accomplishments, they both have 3 titles. Larry Bird has 3 MVPs. LeBron has 4. The difference is that Larry Bird won his 3 MVPs consecutively, which LeBron James never did. To me, I'm not going to say that that equals out to LeBron James's 4, but that makes his 3 MVPs even more impressive because he won his 3 MVPs in an era where you had Dr. J near the end of his career. You had Moses Malone near the end of his prime by the early 80s. You had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, really the beginning of the end for him by the mid-80s. You also had Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, all in the NBA at that time when he won 3 consecutive MVP awards. And he was the best player in the NBA for those 3 years. In an era where you had multiple players who are top 15 all time. Once again, Kareem, Moses Malone, Dr. J, Magic, Isaiah Thomas. they're all in my personal top 15. So that's why I still have Bird over LeBron James. And plus, mentally, it's not even a comparison. LeBron James is just starting to catch up to Larry Bird in regards to his mental understanding of the game, I would say, over the last 3 years. And that's only on offense. On defense, I don't think that Bird has ever been as bad defensively as LeBron James is right now. And that's a shame when you look at how great, supposedly how great the physical conditioning of LeBron James is.
Physicality that he brings to the game, him being 6'9", 260, chiseled brick house, can handle the ball, a magic kind of player in terms of pass first, all of this other stuff, even though he has an obligation to score. People look at him differently. One of the biggest reasons that LeBron James is compared to Michael Jordan is because LeBron James came into the NBA giving everybody indications he was coming for Jordan. Brother. So the reason
why LeBron James is compared to Michael Jordan is because Michael Jordan's number one. Everybody knows that. So you always shoot at the number one guy. Number two, LeBron James wears Michael Jordan's number. Number three, LeBron James is on record as stating that Michael Jordan was his surrogate dad. Number four, LeBron James has Chosen One tattooed on his back. And Chosen One is a moniker that is used for Monarch athletes or MK Ultra children, for those of you who don't know.
Why those are the reasons why those conspiracies. Because if you look at Kobe's game, his game mirrored MJ more than LeBron's ever did. It's just that LeBron announced to the world he was coming for MJ, and that's why everybody looked for those comparisons.
If you think of what MJ and Pippen did with Phil Jackson, which is one, go 6 for 6. Now,
once again, Scottie Pippen was a beta. You're forgetting that they're not considering the psychological aspect that comprises winning. It's not just about the physical, it's about the psychological. And that's where both Jordan and Pippen had the edge, or would have had the edge, over LeBron and Kobe. Because LeBron and Kobe not only would have been trying to wrestle with each other for control of who would have been the top player on their team, but in a matchup, say hypothetically, of a LeBron and Kobe Laker team against a Michael Scottie Bulls team, they would have been trying to go back and forth with Michael and Scottie to prove who was the better tandem as opposed to who had the better team.
Now take just a little bit of air out of MJ, just a little bit, and stop, plug it up, right? And do this to Pippen. Turn him into super Pippen.
Again,
you think they're losing?
You're looking at it wrong. You know why you're looking at it wrong? Because neither Kobe nor LeBron played defense better than MJ and Pippen.
Thank you, sir. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. I will give LeBron a slight edge over Kobe in regards to defense, but neither one of them played defense on the level of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Neither of them.
They would be slightly lesser defensively and even better offensively, and on the whole.
Well, look, I would say in comparing the players, not the tandem, but the players, that LeBron James, of course, to me would have about a 30% advantage over Scottie. A prime LeBron, say 2012 LeBron. Not LeBron right now, but to say a prime LeBron 2012, we look at Pippen's prime, I would say would be like 92 or 93. LeBron would have the advantage over Pippen by about 30%. When we're evaluating Kobe and Jordan, I would say that Jordan would have probably a 20% advantage over Kobe Bryant. Now, when we're comparing the tandems, that's completely different because Michael and Scottie would have played together for a long period of time. They would have known how to play together. And the Kobe Bryant and LeBron James pairing, that's completely hypothetical. And in my view, they would not have worked together well at all.
A LeBron-Kobe pairing in their primes would have been even better than MJ and Pippen.
Well, again, you're wrong and you're misinformed. Why? Because you're not bringing into consideration the game that they played compared to the game that MJ and Pippen had to play. Talk about the culture, how far more physical it was back in the day. Let's see, what would MJ...
Making it even easier for Kobe and LeBron.
What would MJ and Pippen have done in this era in terms of how soft it is?
Killed it. But so Kobe...
Yeah, Pippen would beast in this era. Pippen would beast in this era. Whew.
And again, their defense is elite.
Their defense is elite. Here's the difference. Pippen is not on anyone's list of top 10 players who ever lived.
When the Lakers lost...
Well, that's true. Pippen is not on anybody's list of top 10 players who ever lived. But in my view, Kobe Bryant should not be on anybody's list of top 10 players who ever lived. But, all right, no. his fanboys are going to explode over that statement. But he's just not a top 10 player. Is Kobe better than Jordan? No. Is he more impactful than Bill Russell? No. Does he bring everything to the table of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? No. Is he better than Magic Johnson? No. Is he better than Larry Bird? No. I'm sure that many fans are going to get upset by that, because when people think of Larry Bird, they think of a big, slow white guy. Look, Larry Bird was the best player in an era of great players. He was the best small forward in an era of phenomenal small forwards. Dominique Wilkins, Mark Aguirre, Bernard King, Alex English, James Worthy. Ask them about Larry Bird. Adrian Dantley. Ask them about Larry Bird. Larry Bird was the best of all of them. Okay? Larry Bird, in my view, better than Kobe Bryant. LeBron James, of course, many Kobe Bryant fans will get upset by this. LeBron James brings more to the table than Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was only successful when he had Phil Jackson as his head coach. Those are just facts. When you look at LeBron James, he's had success with multiple coaches. Now, we know he has to play in the LeBron James system, but Kobe Bryant had to play in the triangle for him to achieve any success. Now, compare him to Michael Jordan, who got to the Eastern Conference Finals in 1989 and went against the bad boy Pistons in their prime. And those Bulls teams, that Bulls team in 89, which was filled with neophytes, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant in their second season, they were more successful against the bad boy Pistons than the Showtime Lakers were in the next round. So that should show you that they were coming. Now, Phil Jackson, of course, took Jordan and that Bulls team to the next level. But when you look at Kobe Bryant's career, he had no success without Phil Jackson. Like, none. So when you compare that to what LeBron James was able to accomplish with multiple coaches, that's why I have to put LeBron James over Kobe. Next, you have Wilt Chamberlain, who's arguably the most dominant player of all time. Then in my last three, you have Hakeem, Tim Duncan, and Shaq, and you can arrange them however you want. For those of you who've never seen Hakeem Olajuwon play, in my view, he's the greatest center to ever play. But I can't put him above Wilt and Bill Russell and Kareem and those guys because of their accomplishments. But in my view, he's the most gifted and talented and coordinated center to ever play, and greatest center to ever play, offense and defense, in my view. Tim Duncan, greatest power forward of all time, was not a coach killer, was able to actually be a great leader for his team without running them off like Kobe Bryant did. And then, of course, Shaq, who's the most dominant player of the modern era. Modern era meaning since the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird draft in 1979. And that's my top 10 right there. Now, when you go from 11 to 15, I say this all the time, it's very, very fluid. I have Isaiah Thomas, greatest little man of all time, only little man to lead his team to multiple championships. I have Julius Erving, the player who carried basketball from the late 70s until the early 80s when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the baton. He won 2 championships in the ABA, was able to lead the Philadelphia 76ers to 4 finals appearances in 7 seasons. His first year with the Philadelphia 76ers, they got to the finals in 77 and probably could have beaten that great Portland Trailblazer team led by Bill Walton had the Philadelphia 76ers not been led by a bunch of nut jobs and guys who did not know how to play team basketball. And Dr. J allowed his stats to diminish for the betterment of the team. And once he finally got a great big man in Moses Malone, they had one of the great teams of all time. Speaking of Moses Malone, he's also in my top 15. There's a guy who went over 20 and 10 for 11 straight seasons, who won 3 regular season MVP awards, and who's arguably the most underrated player in the history of the NBA, along with Bill Russell. You got Kobe in there. You also have Oscar Robertson in there. A lot of players in that 11 to 15 area. But I have Kobe somewhere in there. He could be as high as 11. He could be as low as 15, but that's where I have him.
What's the championship? I'm sorry, beat the Lakers for the championship.
And by the way, to me, that's by far the better debate. By far the better debate is Kobe Bryant or Oscar Robertson or Dr. J. To me, those 3 players, that's where you have that debate. Trying to compare Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan, I just don't see that. I'm sorry. No.
What happened in that series?
When who beat the
the Bulls beat the Lakers in the championship, the first finals. You remember how Pippen was picking Magic? Hurt, forget all that. Pippen picked up Magic.
This is another old wives' tale. This is another fairy tale that gets pushed by the media. That Magic Johnson was lighting up Michael Jordan, and then Phil Jackson made the switch and put Scottie Pippen on Magic, and Scottie Pippen shut down Magic. First off, nobody could shut down Magic. Magic Johnson is going to give you 20, 11, and 11 no matter who's guarding him. That's number one. Number two, the reason why Phil Jackson put Scottie Pippen on Magic was because it was taking up too much of MJ's energy to try to pressure Magic Johnson full court. Because that's the level of intensity that Jordan was playing defense with. Now you could have a player like Scottie Pippen pressure Magic full court for the entire time that he was out there on the basketball floor, because for the most part, Scottie Pippen got his points in transition. Every once in a while, he hit a mid-range jumper or go to the basket and finish. But if Scottie scored 20, 22 points in a game, 10 or 12 of those points was in transition. And you did not really count Scottie Pippen's points. They knew that they needed Jordan to average 30-plus and shoot over 50% for them to win that series, and that's what he did. But this notion that Scottie Pippen just took over defense on Magic and just shut Magic down, that's nonsense. As a matter of fact, Jordan and Scottie Pippen split duties on Magic after Game 1. And according to the metrics, Jordan's defense on Magic was better than Scottie's defense on Magic. Those are just the facts.
And so if you guarded Magic, who's usually 6'9" and looking over defenders,
you think LeBron would have guarded Magic?
No. What I'm saying to you is that, but LeBron has never been a defender. Pippen, as you do know that.
Oh, well, Pippen is
not even close.
Pippen is a much more consistent defender. I'll say this.
Not only that, he's somebody that.
No, Scottie Pippen is not just a much more consistent defender. Scottie Pippen is one of the top 10 defenders in the history of the NBA. And at his position is probably the greatest player defensively in the history of the NBA when it comes to defense as small forward.
That embraces playing defense.
No doubt. I wouldn't compare LeBron over the...
By the way, the greatest defensive player in the history of the NBA is Bill Russell. And it's not really that close when you look at the numbers. Bill Russell's defensive win shares, they dwarf everybody else.
Over the course of a season to Pippen as a defensive player, I will say this, in terms of versatility as a defender, LeBron is more like Dennis Rodman. LeBron, at his best defensively, could legitimately, capably guard all 5 positions.
That's not
LeBron. No, and that's more media narrative. Please, show me the footage of LeBron James guarding a great center. They talk about how he can guard 5 positions. Show me the footage of LeBron James guarding a great center. You'll never ever see that, because he can't do that. If he could, they would have beaten the Orlando Magic back in 2009, because they would have put him on Dwight Howard, who was kicking their ass. And LeBron James could not guard Dwight Howard. People forget how dominant Dwight Howard was before he hurt his back. But I'll give LeBron credit. The defense that he played on Derrick Rose down the stretch of their 2011 series was phenomenal when they played against the Chicago Bulls in 2011.
LeBron at his best is an all-time great defender.
Again, that's why you shouldn't be talking basketball, because you're bringing up what he could do. I'm bringing up what he has done. There's been plenty of times. I will never question the ability of LeBron James. There's nothing he can't do. He has shown a willingness religiously throughout the years not to accept elite defensive assignments from start to finish.
LeBron's game.
I agree, but we also have to factor in that at many points in LeBron James' career, he was counted on to score 35 points and have 11 assists and 11 rebounds for his team to win, even before he went to Miami. Because I'm pretty sure that Stephen A. Smith is talking about at certain points in his career, LeBron was not trying to guard Paul Pierce and a lot of these other guys, but Paul Pierce is a handful. He's like a bull in the china shop. I mean, in that era in the 2000s when you had to guard Paul Pierce, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony, those type of guys, they're going to wear your ass out.
Game mesh well together at their best.
I think so.
So you have 2 top 10 players who ever lived whose games would mesh well together versus the greatest player who ever lived and a top 50 player, maybe higher than that.
No, hold on, wait a minute.
What pairing you think would be better?
Hold on. No. What is the debate? The debate was who benefits more.
In other
so
words,
why are you hold on. I never said that. Listen, the point that I'm making is LeBron James, for the first 8 years of his career, couldn't find himself. That would have never happened with Kobe. If Kobe were his teammate, he'd have never been lost.
If they had been paired,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Of course he would never have been lost, because Kobe would have told his ass, look, your job is to get rebounds after I missed my shots, okay? That's what he would have told LeBron's ass, dead ass. And when you get the rebounds, since you're such a good passer, pass it back to me.
If they had been paired, would LeBron today be considered the greatest player ever? No, but Kobe would be. Kobe benefits more.
That's a huge leap based on a false supposition. I mean, I have no idea why Max Kellerman keeps saying that had they played together, that Kobe would be considered the greatest player ever. As a matter of fact, history shows us, and history tells us, I mean, quite emphatically, that when great players play with other great players, that they actually lose credit. They don't gain credit.
Don't think so.
You know what's another topic for another day?
So.
I wonder why he put this out yesterday. Interesting. We know he always has an agenda, some narrative.
Of course, there's always an agenda and a narrative. Really, LeBron James is trying to appease the Laker fans because he basically came to L.A. to pass Kobe and Kareem at all-time points and to rub it in their faces in their own jersey. That's what LeBron James is about. But anyway,